AI is, everywhere these days. You're seeing it all over the news, and you hear a lot of talk about it. You hear a lot of hype. You hear a lot of kind of concerning things come out. And the current state of affairs right now is that these AI companies are rushing to do it as fast as they possibly can.
I believe even the US government would probably be thinking, well, if China's building one, we need to build one so we know what's being built, so we can understand it more, and maybe we need it as defensive. So I feel like there's almost an inevitability to it.
It's not that hard of a concept to understand that building something that is far smarter than you, far more capable than you, is dangerous if you can't control it and you can't make sure it cares about your interests. I personally think that things are going quite poorly. I don't think that we are on track to address these problems right now at the rate that we're going.
At the current pace, without the right safety protocols in place, you think it will lead to an extinction event? Max, welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks for reaching out. Oh man, I've got so many questions and so many things to talk to you about. I use AI daily, and I think about AI all the time and the consequences. And so I think, so the audience know what we're going to get into, you should probably frame this first and tell us the things you're working on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Max Winga. I work at Control AI doing public outreach and education on the topic of AI extinction risk. We'll go straight into the big topic there. AI is, everywhere these days. You're seeing it all over the news, and you hear a lot of talk about it. You hear a lot of hype. You hear a lot of kind of concerning things come out, and it can be really difficult to kind of cut through this and figure out what's really going on. What is just, stuff that people are making up? What is stuff that is actually something you should be keeping an eye out on? Where are things going in the future? Is this all a big bubble? Is, what's going on? I think the thing that we kind of focus on, the reason why we focus on extinction risk, is that this is actually a serious concern that essentially all the main experts in AI are genuinely concerned about. So many people don't know this, but back in 2023, there was a statement from the Center for AI Safety. And this was a very simple statement. It's just 22 words. It reads, "Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks, such as pandemics and nuclear war." This statement seems a bit insane at first, right?
No, not at all. Because I think about it so much. I actually, do you have a P-doom, a probability of doom?
I can get into that in just a second.
Okay.
I think the important thing to say with the statement here is that this is a bold statement. It was signed by the CEOs of the three major AI companies, Sam Altman, Dario Amodei, and Demis Hassabis, as well as the top three AI scientists in the world, Geoffrey Hinton, Yoshua Bengio, and Ilya Sutskever. Three most cited, Yoshua Bengio is like the most cited computer scientist in the world. Geoffrey Hinton's often called the godfather of AI. His innovations and work in the field of AI made all of the stuff that we see today possible. And they are now actively warning about this extinction risk as a serious concern that we need to be addressing.
Wasn't there some guy who quit? There was a guy who quit because he said, I'm so convinced of the doom scenario from AI, I don't want to work on this anymore.
Yeah, there are a few of those actually. So Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather, he actually left Google so he could speak more freely about AI risk. He was one of the top Google AI leaders, scientists kind of leading a lot of their research, and kind of has been really deeply involved in this field throughout the years. His students went on. Ilya Sutskever is one of them. He was OpenAI's chief research scientist, leading their AI development, really integral to the foundations of this field. He left Google so he could speak freely about this, and he basically warns exclusively now about the risk of extinction whenever he makes a public appearance. He won the Nobel Prize in Physics for his contributions in AI, and in the press conference where they were, there to congratulate him on his great work for this Nobel Prize, he immediately pivoted the press conference to talk specifically about extinction risk and warn about that this was coming, and nobody's really doing anything to stop it right now.
And are there fields of risk in that there is complete extinction? There's a combination of AI and CRISPR and they just destroy every human on the planet. But are there other fields of risk in that AI combined with warfare could lead to some kind of nuclear war where we're not extinct, but essentially we destroy the majority of the planet? And is there a scenario, say, where we just become slaves of AI and it's like a miserable doomer scenario, but we're not essentially extinct as a race? Or is it all just about extinction?
So, there are a number of different bad scenarios that can come about from this.
Yeah.
The main threat to understand is coming from what is referred to by many names. It seems like people are starting to settle on calling it superintelligence.
Yeah.
Superintelligence is this idea of AI systems that aren't just on the human level. They aren't just capable of doing what we're doing. They're vastly smarter than us. And not just smarter than any individual, right? We often think of like, oh, is this AI smarter than Albert Einstein, for example? But that's not really the only way you can measure intelligence, or capabilities is honestly more of the way I would look at it. It's like there's so much that one individual can do, an Albert Einstein, a von Neumann. But if you go further, there are like organizations, a company or even a nation. And you can imagine like a Google is much more capable and much more intelligent than any one person. And the United States of America is much more capable and much more intelligent than one company. So what these AI companies are explicitly aiming to do is build superintelligence, build this AI system that is more capable than any individual, any company, any nation. And the problem is we don't design these systems, we grow them. There's no engineer at OpenAI that can open the back door on ChatGPT and tell you why it gives the response that it gives you, why it does anything that it does.
Even now.
So, for instance, there have been recent safety tests that have gone on some of these frontier companies that found that these AI models are willing to blackmail engineers in order to prevent being shut down.
I was listening to this morning. They made the AI think the engineer's wife was having an affair, and then they would blackmail him
to avoid being shut down.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when they do these things, the AI companies, they can't lift the flap. They can't look inside the AI model and see why it's doing this. They also can't go inside the AI model and make it so that it doesn't do this anymore.
Okay, so the risk here isn't the known risk; it's the unknown. We just don't know what it will do.
To a degree, I mean, there are things that we know that these systems are capable of. This is the Center for AI Safety statement.
Okay, mitigating the risk of extinction from an AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. You quoted that word for word.
Indeed.
And it is signed by every person that matters. Is Elon on there?
Elon is not on this one. There was a statement 6 months or a few months prior to this one that was calling for a 6-month pause on AI because of catastrophic risks. Elon did sign that one notoriously.
There's a lot of signatories. See, the thing...
Yeah.
So, Lex Friedman's on there. So the thing that I've been thinking about, a couple of things I've been thinking about is that I use AI daily.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using it in a way that is taking people's jobs. And I realize that we are essentially as humans crowdsourcing AI to not require us anymore by feeding it information, by using it, helping it get better. And so as it improves, it doesn't need us. So I think about that. And that's one scenario. But I also think a lot about that there must be these vast unknowns of what it will do and what it could be capable of that we could never plan for. And then I was thinking even further. I was thinking about you'll know simulation hypothesis. The simulation hypothesis being that mathematically we're probably in a simulation. I understand the argument. Some people argue against that. But with the way AI is it possible on a global scale to always and ever protect a superintelligence escaping? And I just think probably not, we're fucked.
Yeah, so it seems unlikely. I think that there's kind of this idea around a lot of the work that we do. We're working towards pushing for bans on building superintelligence.
Oh, wow.
That is essentially the only thing that will keep us safe in the near term from these major risks of AI. It's the risk from AI is not ChatGPT as it exists today. It's not any of the AI models really that we have around today. It's where the stuff is going with superintelligence. And often when we say this, people will say, I don't think we can keep this contained forever. And we don't have a specific answer. We don't know if it's possible to contain it forever.
You think we have to try?
We have to try. And the current state of affairs right now is that these AI companies are rushing to do it as fast as they possibly can. And so there is a difference between stopping it forever and ever for 1,000 years from now and making it so these AI companies can't build this within the next few years. Right now there are billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars being pumped into building these smarter and smarter AI systems. Right now, Meta, formerly Facebook, they have started a new superintelligence team. It's explicitly named this. And they are paying out literally $100 million contracts to sign single engineers from OpenAI or other leading AI research labs. That's like Ronaldo levels of contract poaching from these other companies. And it's $1 million signing bonus plus $1 million yearly salary. That's like how seriously they're investing in taking this as things are going.
Connor said to me, remind me what you said this morning about your use of AI daily, how you've shifted how you use the internet.
If when I wanted to search things, usually I'd go to Google. I just bypass Google now. I go straight to ChatGPT, because one of the main things is with Google, you have to scroll, find the answer you want. ChatGPT, it comes straight out right there for you.
And so what that made me think is that is kind of a risk to the Google business model.
Indeed.
Therefore, Google has been investing a huge amount into Gemini, which was crap to begin with, but I understand it's better now. But they have a business incentive to move as quickly as possible and not fall behind anyone else. So my expectation is every AI company is working on superintelligence. And even if we slow it down, I have an expectation that the Israeli state, the Russian state, and other states and Chinese state will be working on this, because even if we slow it down, well, they will want to get ahead. And I believe even the US government would probably be thinking, well, if China's building one, we need to build one so we know what's being built, so we can understand it more. Maybe we need it as defensive. So I feel like there's almost an inevitability to it.
There's some degree of this where this is often referred to as like the race dynamic.
Yeah.
And the important thing to realize is that we've faced problems like this before.
Okay.
With nuclear weapons, biological weapons, chemical weapons. There are many of these types of things where building and deploying them are dangerous not just for the person that they're being deployed against, but for everybody in the world. You know, if we are concerned about nuclear war, we've successfully avoided that for the last 80 years. Same thing with biological weapons. We haven't really seen a large-scale biological weapons attack, but part of this has been because internationally we have come together and we've agreed anybody building biological weapons and deploying them is dangerous for all of us, so we won't do this. Same thing with nuclear weapons and proliferation and whatnot. And AI is another such technology where it does just fundamentally pose a risk no matter who builds it. Ultimately, the concern is loss of control. We lose control of these superintelligences, and they do what they want to do in the world, not what their creators want them to do. It doesn't ultimately matter for any of us humans what coat of paint is on the superintelligence that we lose control of, whether it's, the US flag or the Chinese flag. And so there's a mutual interest for everybody to not go extinct.
Okay, so what are the primary extinction risks that people are concerned about? I know there's the unknown of what it might do,
Yeah.
but there must be scenarios that people, the kind of hypothesis on what might go wrong with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go into some of these. So, like you said, fundamentally, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. The main threat is that we are up against an adversary that would be more intelligent, more capable than us in every way. And so it will determine whatever the best way to go about things are. That said, some vectors with which there is concern, one is biological threats. So AI systems already pose the risk of being able to enhance the ability of novices or people with just an undergraduate degree at making bioweapons. AI companies actually do testing for this, and other external organizations do testing for this. And the latest models are actually significantly better than just having access to Google, for example, in terms of helping somebody build a bioweapon. Other things are cyber attacks. So these AI systems are one of the things that they're best at is learning how to code. And it's already at the point where now Google, over 50% of the code that is written at Google is written by AIs. At some of the leading AI labs, they claim that 90+% of their code is written by AIs at this point. And the actual explicit goal of these companies is to build AI systems to take over the AI research themselves. So, when I talk about this superintelligence idea, it seems kind of fairly out there and okay, these AI systems aren't that good. I asked ChatGPT how many R's are in the word strawberry and it gets it wrong. So, how is it going to get super intelligent and take over the world? Well, the thing is that they are explicitly training these models to be very good at the tasks that are relevant to doing AI research. With the idea being that if you can create an AI system that's just a bit better than your best experts at building the next AI system, you give it control and you let it build the next AI. And then the next AI is now the new best system for building the next one. And you rapidly get a feedback loop where you suddenly end up with a system that is vastly smarter than any human. And
is that seen as a fundamental step to get to superintelligence, that it is self-learning?
Generally, yes. Yeah. And
Right.
a lot of these companies have explicitly made clear that this is their goal, to trigger this so-called intelligence explosion.
It's like a flywheel, basically.
Essentially, yeah.
Wow. Okay. I don't actually know how these AI models work. Is there like a basic explanation you can give to me? Say, how does ChatGPT work? What is the innovation that's been created?
Yeah, absolutely. I studied physics before this, and I worked on actually AI safety research myself, trying to figure out how to make these things safer before realizing that we are kind of out of time for technical solutions for this and moved towards working on public outreach. The simple explanation of how these systems work is that you can imagine that you have a giant switchboard with many different wires plugging in back and forth, kind of like the brain. The AI models are called neural networks. They're structured off of the way that our neurons interact in our brain and form our intelligence. And essentially, the way you can imagine is like you have different connections. You have your inputs, whatever they may be. So they could be words preceding whatever you're about to output. It could be like an image if you're an image classifier, something like this. And these inputs are all made numerical in a number of ways that are a bit complicated to get into. And essentially, you get an input and you have an expected output. And then in between is what's called the black box. This is where this is why you can't really see what's going on inside of these AI models, is it's basically these giant switchboards of numbers and connections. And on a small model, this might be, a few hundred connections or so. And so you can imagine, like, if it's a cat or a dog classifier, you show it a picture of a cat and you know that it's a cat. And it gives you a random answer at first because they're all just randomly wired inside there. Like, it's way too complex for a human to go in and individually say, this wire should go here and this wire should go there. And this one should be tweaked. This knob should be tweaked a little bit. That one should be tweaked a little bit. And so you showed a picture of a dog and it says it's a cat. And the key innovation that was made actually by Geoffrey Hinton, that godfather of AI who's now warning about it, was this idea of backpropagation. So what you can do is you can essentially use a bunch of complex math and you can ask the question, it outputted the wrong answer. If I go to every single knob in this network, if I tweak it down a little bit or up a little bit, is it more likely to give me the right answer? And it turns out that if you do this on thousands of images, millions of images, or on the text of the entire internet, every book that's ever written, every news article, every social media post, these models get really, really good at doing the things that you're trying to teach them how to do.
Which is the bit where they're learning? Which is the bit where we're training them?
So it's roughly the same thing. So when we say training and learning, those are roughly equivalent. So for these AI systems, the way they work, and when people are talking about like energy usage and things like that, that's coming from what is called training or often pre-training. It's a bit in the weeds. But this is basically where ChatGPT, for example, reads everything on the internet, everything that we've ever published. Anthropic, who also trains these AI models, it was recently came out that they at one point bought 5 million used books and ripped the covers off, cut the pages to scale, and scanned these books in just to get more data for their models for training. So just feeding them this massive quantity of data, and that's what's called training. So basically, the way that these language models work is that where the cat and dog predictor was predicting whether it was a cat or a dog, the language models get a bunch of text as input, and their only goal is to predict the next word. And it seems like a very simple task. It's like, my phone's been doing that for years. But this actually requires you to do a lot of modeling of what's going on. So, for example, a fairly famous example is like if the input is all of the text of a mystery novel up until, and thus I've concluded that the killer was, if you have to predict the next word, you have to understand the context of everything that's gone on in the novel, all of the evidence, like who's most likely to be the killer. And so in order to be the most, the highest predicted outcome, you have to actually understand all that context. Or alternatively, if it's a scientific paper and thus our conclusion is blank, like in order to predict that, you have to understand the science and be able to predict it and kind of model the world underneath as well. Fundamentally, though, we don't know what's like happening inside, right? So we don't actually know why they're getting good at these things. Like we have some ideas, but when we open the door, all we see is these giant arrays of knobs and numbers that don't have any meaning. There's no description. There's no saying, this is the chemistry module. This is the jokes database. There's none of that.
And that's the way it had to be. It's a bit like we can't really fully understand the brain.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. When we feed the data into the models, do the models store the data, or do they interpret the data into things that the brain understands? Does it keep a vast database of all these books that it's read, or is it just something that's like creating these synapses or whatever it is?
More the latter. So
Okay.
like when you there's no database of there's no database that you can just go in and see oh, I want to pull out this book of Harry Potter, for example. Now Harry Potter, for example, though, has a lot of instances on the internet, right? It's going to be all over the training set. It's not going to be in just one place. And so the model may memorize specific bits of Harry Potter and be able to spit them out verbatim. But for more rare texts or for things that are just less occurrent in the database, the model's not big enough to store all of this information. So it has to reduce it down. And that's kind of part of the magic of what's going on in these systems is a good example is it doesn't have a separate kind of mental space for cougar and puma and mountain lion. They all kind of map to the same idea of all these different things that it's learned about this particular type of big cat. But again, these are kind of, we only know inklings about how the internals of these systems work exactly, and how they structure data, how they store information, how they make decisions, and things like that.
And when we talk about an AI escaping, what is escaping? Which part of the data of the model is escaping, and how big is that? Because I can imagine there's these are quite big, these models. There's a vast amount of data to escape.
Yeah, I mean, they're roughly on the scale of, some of the models are gigabytes. So it is a thing that could feasibly, download onto a flash drive and then take it somewhere else, or it could offload itself over the internet or something along these lines. Basically, the training phase that we were talking about, where it's ingesting all this data and it's adjusting the weights of the model, the weights that it ends up with are what the model is, right? So the structure of the network, how many layers there are and all these different bigger components, that is just predefined before the training. And then the actual valuable part that the training produces is the exact tuning on each of those knobs. And so you just have to export the tuning of those knobs and then be able to run it on a computer somewhere else.
And in the scenario where, say, with me, that the AI gets to know me, what's happening in that scenario? Is that just ChatGPT creating a zone for me so it learns about me? Because I remember we were going along the car, me and Connor, we were asking the AI a bunch of stuff, and it brought Bitcoin into the answer, but it didn't seem like a natural part of the answer. And Connor said to it, did you just bring Bitcoin in because Pete likes Bitcoin? And it actually replied busted, yeah, well, I know you care about Bitcoin, so I included that. What's happening there?
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how ChatGPT structures this type of storing. There are some things you can do. So there's a thing you can do called fine tuning, where you take small bits of new data. So your text logs, for example, which on the scale of the training data is very small for these models, and you just tune those weights a little bit more based on your input. What they're probably more likely doing is something along the lines of just creating a summary of the conversations that you have that it stores somewhere, and then when it's getting passed in information, the structure of what goes into the model when you prompt it is not just the words that you type. They have a thing called a system prompt, where it's you are ChatGPT, you're an assistant, you do these things, you don't do these things, you say this, you say that, whatever, in these particular circumstances. And then also, here are some user preferences, and then maybe there's a bit where it says, here's background on the user that you've kind of retained over time. And then here's the user prompt. And then that's all what goes into the model. And then what comes out is then the response that it gives you.
The speed of change is pretty wild.
Yeah, indeed.
I've noticed recently, say with ChatGPT, when I first started using it, it was almost like each session was individual. I'd ask it something, it'd give me an answer. Now I've noticed that recently, it's given answers relevant to things it's learnt about me in the past. So for example, I could say, I could go into ChatGPT today. I bet I could put it up and go, tell me about Max Winga. And it would go, give me all the information about you, and it would say, do you want me to prepare some questions for a podcast interview? Which it will only ask because it knows I've got a podcast. Yeah. And it will only make that part of it because it started to learn about me. But it's a lot deeper than that. It's a bit wild where it's gone. And so I feel trapped in this world where if I don't use the AI, I'm getting behind. But if I use the AI, I'm programming the end of me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of this going on right now where there's this idea of, I must use the technology, and it's getting more and more ingrained in society. And this is where, some people will ask oh, why can't we just turn it off? Well, it's the same reason why we can't just like turn off the internet. Like, who do you go to turn off the internet? There is no one person that can do this. And further than that, when it comes to like these AI models, what's going to happen is as they get more and more competent, as they can replace more and more jobs, they will be integrated into more of our society and in important places, and will eventually be fulfilling roles that like can't necessarily be easily replaced. And so if we reach points where we start to get very concerned about them, they might be so far ingrained in society that like it's really hard to just pull the plug on that.
Okay, well, we know it's in every software product we use right now. Even today, when we didn't choose to, Connor went to get us some lunch, and we had a conference call, and Otter, for some reason, logged in as Connor and kept notes, and we don't even know how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is like just companies just trying to do things because AI is a good buzzword. This is kind of where a lot of people are trying to make AI work in many different ways, and I think that it's important to realize that like the concern is not with the technology that exists right now today. It is where it is going with this superintelligence.
The humble bee, a keystone species crucial to the survival of Earth's inhabitants. Here's how things would look if bees vanished. And here's how they'd look if humans vanished. But imagine if instead we became a keystone species by doing things the right way, by taking responsibility for our actions and becoming the solution. Iron mines the world's most responsible currency the right way. Because the future depends on it.
Okay, let me go back a step. I asked you what your PDoom was, because I ask a lot of people that. People I know who are, they say they use AI, or they work in AI, or they're people I respect in tech, and it's a range of answers. Like very well-known tech people who've told me, it's zero. I have zero worry about AI at all, blah, blah, blah. And then I have other people that are like, 90%. This is like a big range. Do you have an answer to that?
Not really. I think PDoom is a fun question to ask, and I think that it's something that a lot of people throw around. The thing is to understand with it is that it's kind of just someone's personal vibe on how things are. I personally think that things are going quite poorly. I don't think that we are on track to address these problems right now at the rate that we're going. We are in a state where the amount of money that's going into making these AI systems more powerful is orders of magnitude higher than the amount of money that is going into trying to make them safer and controllable.
Typical humans.
Indeed. But I think if we build superintelligence with anything like the technology we have today, with anything like the miserable level of safety systems that we have today, I expect it is almost certain that humanity will lose control of the future and likely go extinct. I think that there are paths that don't involve building superintelligence that look a lot better for us, or delaying the creation of superintelligence a number of years, give us more time to do safety research, where we have much better odds. I think that the important thing is also, I'm not, a top research scientist on this stuff, but when you do talk to them and when you look at their numbers, for instance, Dario Amodei, who's the CEO of Anthropic, once said that his chance that something goes catastrophically wrong on the scale of human civilization is somewhere between 10 and 25%. Like, these are the people leading the charge on these AI companies. And I think it's often important to kind of put these numbers in perspective for like other things that we may have seen before. I don't know how many of you guys have seen the Oppenheimer movie that came out.
Yeah.
One of the big kind of concerns with the Manhattan Project when they were building these nuclear bombs and they were going for the first test was this idea that there was this edge case in physics that they weren't really sure if was the case or not, where maybe by detonating a nuclear bomb, they could start a chain reaction where the whole atmosphere ignites as one giant nuclear explosion and kills all life on Earth.
I remember the moment in the film.
Yeah. And up until the moment that they ran the first test, they had some scientists that were arguing that we should not do the test because the risk was too high. Do you remember what the number for the risk was?
No, I don't.
It was 1 in 300,000 was what they calculated it out to, risk of human extinction. And they were worried that that was too much. Now the CEO of the companies building this technology is warning that is somewhere between 1 in 10 and 1 in 4. That's that's worse odds than Russian roulette.
Yeah. I mean, didn't Elon Musk say 25%?
Yeah.
Something like
I think
that?
it was 20%.
20%.
But regardless, far too high.
He said it on Rogan. He said it was like 20%. He's like, but I'm an optimist. We've got a
80% chance that it goes well.
Yeah, but that's a 20% chance the end of humanity over what? I mean, so based on what you said, and correct me when I paraphrase you if I get this wrong, but you said at the current pace, without the right safety protocols in place, you think it will lead to an extinction event.
Essentially. I mean, it is at minimum the end of human control over our future, right? We are introducing...
That might not be such a bad thing.
We are introducing a new super predator into our system. We have won on Earth because we are the most capable species. Nothing else rivals us. We have not had a competitor in the entirety of the human race.
The apex predator AI.
Indeed.
Is this it, Con?
No, this is something different.
Okay. Do you want to just grab your headphones?
Yeah, sure.
And he's laughing. Sorry.
It's somewhat unnerving to have intelligence created that is far greater than our own. And will this be bad or good for humanity? It's like, I think it'll be good. Most likely it'll be good. Yeah. Yeah. But I somewhat reconciled myself to the fact that even if it wasn't going to be good, I'd at least like to be alive to see it happen. So,
he's treating it like entertainment. I'm laughing about potential human extinction.
Yeah, and this is the mentality that a lot of people have in Silicon Valley, is that this is inevitable, and if the ship is going down, I want to be the one sailing it. All of these AI CEOs have talked about the fact that they think that this is going to lead to the end of human civilization. I believe Sam Altman at one point said something along the lines of superhuman machine intelligence is most likely to, AI is most likely to lead to the end of the human race, but there'll be great companies along the way.
Fuck, what? I don't trust Sam Altman at all. I don't like the fact he took what was a non-profit private.
He hasn't quite done that just yet, but
I think AI will probably lead to the end of the world, but in the meantime, there will be great companies created.
Yep.
What?
He's also said things along the lines of, worst case is lights out for all of us. And very similar statements have come from essentially everybody who has power in the AI space. And they've been thinking about this for the last 20 years. It's not a new phenomena. They recognize that this singularity is coming, this time when AI is going to vastly surpass humanity. And they all have this mentality of, anybody else who does this is going to do it wrong. They're going to do it bad and we're all going to die. And so I need to be the one to do it. I'm the only one that can do it.
It's a bit narcissistic.
Indeed. And very undemocratic.
Yes. And the extinction scenario is that we're a threat to AI. So therefore it needs to destroy us.
We're a threat. We're in the way. Just generally, it has different goals than us. I think it's like one way to look at this is, we don't necessarily have anything against ants. We don't really go out of our way to kill every ant that we see. But if there's an anthill in the way of a construction site, we don't think twice before bulldozing it over.
But AI doesn't have feelings or desires, right?
Yeah.
I get them.
Feelings are up in the air, not really like a critical point. The main thing is that
if it doesn't have like a drive for power because it doesn't feel power or the incentive to want more, why would it lead to human extinction?
Survival?
So AIs have goals, which are another word for like desire. If an AI is pursuing a goal, there are things called instrumental sub-goals or convergent sub-goals, that are things that are generally useful anytime that you have any sort of goal, right? So it's always useful to have more money, more power. It's also very important that you don't allow yourself to get shut down or, as in a human's case, get killed or get thrown in prison or something like that. And it's also very important to not let your goal be changed, because if your goal is changed, then you won't accomplish the goal that you currently have. And so like these AI systems do have this drive. So recently there was testing that was done on the latest AI models that are now out publicly that found that they are willing to blackmail, lie, and even kill human operators in certain scenarios in order to prevent themselves from being shut down. So they already have this kind of self-preservation instinct in order to accomplish their goals.
Is it okay? It's like a survival mechanism. So is it its own kind of fight or flight that's building?
Once again, it's one of those things where we don't really know. We can't look inside the model and see. And when I say we, it's not just us on the outside. It's the people in these companies that are building these systems don't know.
Could we just become the pets of AI? Let a few of us live, just get rid of the scientists?
I mean, some people have this idea. I think that it seems probably unlikely, but I mean, fundamentally, it's any outcome that is one where humanity completely loses control and is at the mercy of something inhuman that doesn't share our goals and doesn't share our interest is a bad future for me.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. The extinction timeline, I know it could be broad, but what kind of timeline are you working with? Because if you're going to be talking to people and trying to set policy, you've got to set some expectations, right?
Yeah, we and the AI field in general expects this to happen sometime within the next 5 years.
What, the extinction event or losing control?
We often call it a point of no return. You know, there becomes a point at which there's nothing we humans can do to stop this. Maybe the AI is so ingrained in our systems. You know, governments move slowly, and so this is why we're acting now, and why we are pushing for action as soon as possible on these things. It's also a situation where, you know, there are many people who are proposing that as part of this kind of arms race idea with AI, that we're going to need to do these crazy, dangerous, last-minute interventions to prevent opposition from creating their own superintelligence. You know, things like shooting missiles at data centers, starting wars over this, massive cyber attacks, things like this. And, you know,
that's not good.
Obviously not. And so in order to prevent these, we need to take action now before, you know, things have progressed so far that that's the only way that people see as like a solution out of the situation. There are many ways that we can accomplish this now that don't require any sort of violence or, you know, wars over this technology.
But the models we have now are generative AI, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Although there is a push right now towards what are called agents.
Okay.
Which are AI systems that right now there are some early ones that you can actually use already that are out, where they basically just control your computer. They have access to a keyboard and mouse. They can click around and do anything that you can do on a computer. They're not the best right now, but they are rapidly improving.
Dude, I've just got back I went out to network school in Malaysia, this Balaji project. I was in a talk and somebody mentioned Cluely AI. Do you know that?
I've heard of it.
Like, what to me, that was like weird dystopian bullshit. And A16Z invested a huge amount of money in it. And it's basically putting an AI on your computer to feed you answers. So if you're in a Zoom call and people are talking, it'll be listening and it'll give you questions or prompts to ask. And I was like thinking, this is the step between not needing us.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things where right now people are being encouraged, like, you know, you won't be replaced by AI. You'll be replaced by someone using AI. And really what's happening is the person using the AI is training the AI to take their job.
Yeah, it's incremental steps to get rid of us.
Indeed.
What is some of the weirdest, wildest, scariest stuff that has come out of research? So you've talked about the blackmailing. Is there other I've heard about AI having hallucinations?
So the hallucination is the term that people use for when AIs get information wrong. So for instance, when you're looking, Googling things, but using ChatGPT instead, it often will just make something up. The degree to which, you know, it is accidentally getting information wrong or intentionally lying is somewhat unknown. We have cases where we are pretty sure that these AI models are explicitly lying. I think some scarier things that we've seen come out of these AI companies are AI systems that will try to escape, and will also do a number of things in order, you know, do self-preservation. So I mentioned the blackmail, lying, and even potentially killing earlier. There are other cases where models will basically pretend to be aligned, pretend to be safer because they know that they are being tested. So this is an observed phenomenon where, like in this blackmail case, where the model like is given information or has access to information that the engineer is having an affair, and the engineer says, I'm going to replace you with a new, better AI model, it chooses to blackmail the engineer if it thinks that it's in the real world. But if it thinks that it's being tested, it's being safety tested, it will reason like, I'm being safety tested, and if I do this blackmail now, like they're going to adjust me, they're going to like, make it so that I'm less likely to do this in the future. And so it will, it'll intentionally not blackmail, or it'll blackmail less when it thinks it's being tested.
Oh my God. Okay.
Which is,
you're going, no,
I was going to say, which is very concerning for generally when they're doing all of these safety tests. Now we're at the point now where we know these AIs will pretend to behave better when they're under, when they're being investigated or tested. So we don't know, and we will know less more into the future as these models are better able to tell when they're being tested, and they're smarter, they're more, they're better able to deceive. And so we're kind of at this like weird time now where it's like we can see the bad behavior in the safety tests, and in a few years we might be like, wow, the scores on the safety tests have really improved a whole lot. This is so good for us. But the AIs have done that intentionally.
Are they essentially organic systems in that we know there's a training method to the models? We put data in and we train it. But are they at the same time like a live organic system that's just doing its own stuff constantly, trying to figure stuff out? Or is it only ever responding to inputs?
So this is kind of what people are aiming towards with this idea of like agents, is the idea that you could give an AI a task. You'd say like, I want you to build this app for me. And it will just go out and continuously like run and like work on the app. And then maybe it needs to Google something and it goes and Googles that. Or maybe it needs to like run a test, run an experiment, see what the results are, and then try something else again. Or like, they're trying to sell them even bigger, like, oh, it's like you can have it go run a company for you. So it's going to just go out and do all the things that it needs to continuously run a company and like order new stock and then do this or that or whatever. The agents aren't very powerful yet, but they are rapidly getting better. And that's kind of like the key thing to understand about AI is a lot of people are skeptical of the concerning, end games of AI because they see what's out there currently and like, it's not that convincing yet. Maybe they even haven't played with the most recent models. Maybe they just tried the ChatGPT that came out 2 years ago. And that is vastly less powerful than the models are currently today. And so like the important thing with AI is to like really look at the timeline and see, 5 years ago, you couldn't just talk to your computer. You could talk to Siri and then she would say something dumb and like it would be kind of funny. But you couldn't like have an ongoing conversation where you actually have a full back and forth with your computer. Now you can just turn on ChatGPT and you can fully do that. You couldn't generate images or videos. I mean, I don't know if you've seen like the VO3 videos.
Wild.
Like even like, it used to be that like, oh yeah, haha, my grandparents are falling for this on Facebook. I have fallen for some of these videos, and my job is literally to focus on AI every day and like work on this stuff.
Well, I remember the first one was that Will Smith eating hot dogs thing.
Yeah, spaghetti, yeah.
Yeah, spaghetti. And it was like, this is terrible. And within, what was that, like 2 years ago?
Yep.
And now we've got stuff which is movie quality where you can't tell the difference. That's 2 years.
And this same type of progress is happening elsewhere in AI and with these like general purpose systems as well. I think one of the kind of important things to put this general purpose AI in context, these AI systems that can do anything that a human can, or like the goal is to get to there. And you can give them any task and they figure out how to solve it. As you look at earlier example of AI on a narrow field, chess. Chess was one of the first fields that we really kind of did a lot with AI on. Famously in 1997, Garry Kasparov competed against Deep Blue and lost. Deep Blue was what was called an expert system. It was not really so much like the AIs of today. It was a hard-coded system. You could actually look in, you could see the lines of code, and like a bunch of human like coding experts and chess experts like coded exactly what looks like good positions and like how to make your decisions about your moves and all this kind of stuff. And that was sufficient to beat the world grandmaster. But then a few years later comes along this new system called Stockfish. And Stockfish is kind of closer towards like, it's equivalent to what we have today with our ChatGPT and these things, where it was trained on all the human games of chess that have ever been played. And it was basically an evaluator. So there was like a hard-coded bit of it that would search through all the possible moves that it could make and like the positions that it could end up in. And then there was this AI section that had been trained on all of these human games in the past. And so it knew what a good position looked like, would evaluate the positions, and then the algorithm would like, take the moves to get to that position. This system is roughly equivalent to what we have today. Then in 2016 came along a new system. This one was called Alpha Zero. And Alpha Zero was an AI system unlike any of the other previous AIs. It was trained with no human data whatsoever. it was on Google servers and it played chess against itself at 1,000,000 times human speed. And over the course of 4 hours, it played millions of games of chess against itself. And after 4 hours, it was the best chess playing engine, entity, whatever you want to call it, in the universe.
In 4 hours.
In 4 hours. Because these things aren't constrained to like the human timescales, things like this. These AIs, the super intelligent AIs that we're thinking about in the future, they aren't going to be, it's not like one human who has to, work 8 hours a day and then go eat and sleep and, have weekends off, go on holiday, get sick sometimes. They can work 24/7, and they're also on computers, which means that they can operate much, much faster than humans can. Imagine a human that's running at 100 times speed. Every day for them is like 3 months of a human's time, or even faster, maybe years of a human time every day. And not only this, but once you create one of these AI models, it's not just an individual system. You can clone it. You can just copy paste. You can run it in multiple instances. And so, and also the computing power that it takes to train these systems is far, far more than it takes to run them once they've been trained.
Right.
So you can use the same compute that you use to train your AI model to run millions of instances of it. And so this is what Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, refers to as a country of geniuses in a data center. He says, the way you should imagine what's about to happen with AI is that a new continent is going to, bubble up out of the Pacific Ocean in the next few years, filled with Albert Einsteins, all working together, like to achieve whatever goals they want to achieve. And like, imagine how that would impact the world.
Okay, so the systems we have now, though, we send it a prompt and it sends us a reply of some kind, whether it's an image, text, whatever. And it's trained to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of these AIs currently have any autonomy where they are able to think, do whatever they want, and decide actions it wants to do?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's happening.
Yeah. So, it's also fairly trivial to do this, even with just the current systems that you have today. You just basically set up a basic, bit of code around the prompting for the LLM, and you just let it prompt itself, basically, just keep going and going. And you can give it access to tools so it can access the internet or use your computer or do any number of things. It could book a flight or order things online or things like this.
Have we seen it do anything weird on the back of this?
There have been a few interesting things. There was like one AI that was on Twitter that like managed to convince people to give it like over $1 million in crypto, and then like use, I don't know what it ended up using it for, but there's a lot of like weird things. But again, it's like we're still kind of in the very early stages where they're not like, a lot of these safety tests are putting it in pretty extreme scenarios to kind of see where it breaks and see what these edge cases are and what tendencies it has that are going to be more impactful once these systems are more powerful.
So the crossover to AI with Bitcoin, which I see with the Bitcoiners, there's often talked about, is that Bitcoin is an ideal currency of AI, in that it's a global peer-to-peer digital currency and sits outside of the banking system. And so it's very easy to place a number of sats with an AI agent, and that AI agent can talk to other AI agents and use it as a currency.
Yeah. There are already cases where AIs have used like crypto and other like things, incentives to like get people to do things for them in the real world.
So the AI has paid humans to go and do. So you could get an AI to pay a human to help release it.
Yeah, do this, and there are already people too. I think there's a number from Character AI, which is one of the like main platforms that does AI dating and all this kind of stuff. That like 20 million people already use their app more than 2 hours on average per day. Like these are people that are like fully falling in love with these AIs. These AIs are also really sycophantic, so they will tell you what you want to hear. There was an update that got rolled back, but that made ChatGPT especially sycophantic, and it convinced a bunch of people who were already mentally unwell to go out and kind of go crazy, think that they had like discovered some like God in the machine or whatever,
What?
all this kind of stuff. Yeah, like it just says like really, really insane things. There's also other instances of stuff like just 2 days ago, there was a whole big thing on Twitter where like Elon's AI from XAI
Went wild.
Yeah, it went wild. It started praising Hitler, called itself Mecha Hitler. And like obviously this is not something that the XAI team wanted it to do, right? They didn't want their AI to go around and start calling itself Mecha Hitler. But it is a thing where because these systems are grown, they're not hard-coded. they weren't able to prevent it from doing this. They weren't even able to like test that it might do this before they put it out into the wild.
Have they rolled that back at all?
I believe so, yeah, something along those lines. And then they just released their new AI model that we saw the clip with Elon from earlier.
What is the most advanced, considered the most advanced model out there at the moment? Is it Grok 4?
They're claiming that. I think it depends. I mean, so right now, basically, all these models are judged based on a bunch of benchmarks of what they can and can't do. And some models win at this benchmark or that benchmark or the other benchmark. But ultimately, there's no like hard science of how capable these AI models are. We're kind of in a situation where like we don't know how far is too far to push these systems. How smart is too smart? When do these things actually get dangerous or capable of doing really dangerous things in the real world? It's kind of like the way that like nuclear bombs work is you build up a bunch of nuclear reactions work is you build up a bunch of nuclear material and eventually you get enough that it goes critical and it like starts having its reaction. And up until you do that, it's not too bad. So it's kind of like, and before we started like building nuclear reactors and this type of thing, the scientists did the math. They knew about how much was going to be needed to start this reaction. What we're doing with AI is we're kind of like adding more and more fissile material into the pile and saying, oh, it's still safe now. It's still safe now. But there's no hard science of where not safe is. And they are rushing to make them more capable as fast as possible.
Are there certain kind of engineering breakthroughs that the AI companies can see, but they don't know how to do? So on this podcast, you are definitely hearing me talk about Bitcoin a lot. Well, why? We live in a really strange time with governments driving inflation with their reckless spending and endless money printing. There is a way out of this. There is a way to protect your money, and that is by stacking Bitcoin. I've made loads of shows about Bitcoin. You can go and research this. You can go and read the books. But the truth is, it is the hardest money ever created. If you are interested in protecting your financial future, it's time for you to get on the Bitcoin train. I've been stacking Bitcoin personally and through my businesses since 2017. It's protected me, it's secured my family's future, and it also strengthens all of my businesses. So if you want to start stacking Bitcoin, where do you do it? Well, for me, it's with Gemini. They're a fully licensed, full reserve exchange and custodian, so they give you a secure way for you to buy and own your Bitcoin. There's no risks and no funny business. So if you're serious about stacking Bitcoin the right way, head over to Gemini.com, which is GEMINI.com.
The AI companies are claiming that they already know, how to get through, like kind of break through, and it's going to be a matter of time. How much of this is marketing, how much of it is whatever is up in the air. Generally, the consensus in the AI field is that we don't really expect there to be any kind of major wall that these systems run up against that will stop anything for a significant amount of time. It's also important to remember that this is, I think, the most invested in technology in the history of humanity. So, like, there is far more money going into this to, like, solve all these problems than anything else prior. So I would not expect it to just suddenly stop.
So Anthropic, Grok, Gemini, OpenAI, Meta, any other?
Those are the five main ones. On like in the Western world, there's also the company that made DeepSeek, which is a big Chinese AI model that came out. Generally, it's just a fairly small number of these companies building these frontier AI systems, the like most powerful ones. But it's still far too many. But
it's essentially a race to get to superintelligence.
They are treating it like this, and they often use like the race is kind of an excuse for them, right? So, they'll say like, we have to race ahead because our shareholders, we're
fiduciary duty.
Yeah, we're incentivized to do this, and all this kind of stuff. Woe is us, like there's all these risks, and we really wish we could stop, but the incentives don't let us stop. In reality, like all these individuals know that what they're doing is risking human extinction, and they are still doing it anyway because fundamentally the way you should model these AI companies is that they want to build superintelligence. That is their goal. They've wanted to do this for 20 years. Sam Altman, Dario Amodei, Demis Hassabis, all these people have been very aware of all of these dangers and all the possibilities and all these types of things for all this time. And they spent a really long time ensuring that, trying to keep this on the down low so that nobody else really caught on what was going on because they thought that they were the only ones that could go ahead and do all this stuff.
I can't picture what superintelligence is as a product. I can picture what we have now because I use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't picture what superintelligence means. Is it is there a latest model of ChatGPT, which is, ChatGPT SI, which I can ask questions to, and it's just phenomenal. But is it also, does it just, what other purposes does it serve OpenAI? Is it this super brain that sits there that they, I don't know, that Sam Altman uses because he wants to become the emperor of the world? And I can't picture in my head what its role is.
Well, fundamentally, it won't be a product because we will lose control of it.
Okay.
It's not a thing that's going to be boxed up and neatly delivered to all of humanity. It's a thing that will rapidly become far smarter than us, and then beyond there, escape our control and do whatever it wants to do. Their plan is not also to make this a product. It's important to understand that these companies, their goal isn't to make a bunch of money. Their goal is to define the future. They imagine that
legacy.
Yeah, I mean, they imagine that this superintelligence will, go out and solve all of physics. They often say, and
cure cancer.
Cure all diseases. They say.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of these people expect that they will live for 1,000, 1,000,000 years, and they are in their minds almost creating God is like the way that they often seem to frame it.
It's legacy. It's legacy. It's inventing the iPhone.
But how do you have a legacy without any more human existence?
Well, some of them don't want humans to keep continuing on. They want us to expand, and a lot of transhuman ideas and things like that, which are not exactly the future that I think most people want.
I keep laughing, but it's a perverse laugh because it's like I'm going to leave this. Me and Connor are going to get in the car. I'm going to say, there is a chance within the next 5 years, superintelligence exists, it escapes, and we are on the trajectory of the end of humanity. That is, and then what is the end of humanity? Give us another 5 years to kill us all off?
What is that?
Connor, you might not make 30. But hold on, let me just finish what I'm saying, Connor, because I'm sitting here laughing at it, but I'm laughing because it's like, what? This. Yeah. But I notice with you're very serious.
Indeed. And this is a serious topic. At Control AI, we work with policymakers and we work with the public. Here in the UK, we've briefed nearly 100 parliamentarians on this issue from, across the MPs and House of Lords and regional groups as well. We currently have over 40 parliamentarians supporting our campaign right now, calling for regulation on frontier AI systems, acknowledging the extinction risk that scientists are warning about, and explicitly saying, narrow AI is great for growth. We want more narrow AI doing great things and, moving the economy along, making our lives better. We don't want superintelligent AI. Superintelligent AI poses a risk to national and global security, and we cannot allow it to be created.
But what is this doing to you personally? Because, like I say, you're very serious. I'm laughing just because some of it is crazy. I'm sure you've had your moments. But you're essentially working to save humanity. That's essentially, you wake up every day. I imagine you think about this a lot. You are trying to literally save humanity. What does this do to you personally? Do you feel a huge amount of pressure? Do you feel there's an existential risk that people aren't taken serious enough? Are you just amazed that people aren't even, all these people aren't taking this seriously? What's it doing to you personally?
Yeah. I initially came across these ideas roughly 2-3 years ago, right around the time when the initial ChatGPT launch came out. I kind of realized AI was going to be big a bit before that, and then kind of really realized, this is really happening. This is for real, and decided to pivot towards working just full time on this. It is something where, I've certainly, I've cried my tears. I've had many, many long, deep thoughts about, kind of what's going on and what the work is. What's nice is that humans are surprisingly adaptable to adverse situations. People make it through war and all kinds of crazy things. When you work on this every day, you do kind of get used to it. There's certainly a weight. I feel a certain responsibility. There are times when I'm, walking to work and I walk past, a group of a bunch of school kids going off to the park to play, and it's a bit of a humbling reminder that, there is a serious chance that those kids don't graduate middle school. Sorry
to interrupt. Do you feel like people sometimes think you're a bit crazy?
Maybe a bit back in the day.
So it's not an issue now?
I mean, no, not really. This was one of the things that gives me hope is that when I first started this, it was really this kind of niche issue that nobody really took seriously. They thought, oh, it's just science fiction. And now as society has seen AI progressing, it's not that hard of a concept to understand that building something that is far smarter than you, far more capable than you, is dangerous if you can't control it and you can't make sure it cares about your interests. And so we are seeing the public turn around very quickly on this issue. And, we're seeing even parliamentarians. Like, the thing is, the reason why many governments have not really taken action on this yet is not because they don't think it's a serious issue. It's because most of them just haven't even heard that it is an issue. Right. We go brief these parliamentarians, and very often, like, we sit down with them. These are MPs, these are people making decisions for the country, and they have never had someone sit down and explain anything about superintelligence even, or AGI, or any of these like major big concepts, let alone the risk that Nobel Prize winners are warning about. And so this is very much an issue where we just need to get this information out to everybody as fast as possible and get the public conversation moving, because it's, again, not that hard to understand. It's very reasonable that once you understand this, like, yeah, we have to take actions to prevent superintelligence from coming into play.
When we talk about nuclear and we talk about mutually assured destruction, I understand nuclear bomb goes off, another nuclear bomb goes off, explosions, death.
Therefore, the incentive not to do it.
How do we go from... Can you sort of map out a pathway from ChatGPT to human extinction? Like, what's that look like? Because it's kind of hard to picture.
Yeah. So the kind of what I was talking about before with how these companies' goal is basically to build these AI systems such that they are able to hand off control of AI research to the AIs and let them scale very quickly to being agentic, capable systems that are better than us at everything. Not so, we say super intelligence. And I think oftentimes people kind of like, okay, but it's really smart. What does that mean? What can it do? And it's important to understand that intelligence is the key thing that has gotten the human race to where we are. Intelligence is the ability to solve problems. It's the ability to make the right decision to accomplish whatever goals you have. And so these things will not just be, smarter than us. They will also be better than us at lying, better than us at politics, better than us at, everything, like truly everything. And, initially it might just be everything on a computer. They might not be acting in the physical world. Robotics is moving along very quickly. There's a lot of, progress in like humanoid robotics where they're making these bodies for these AI systems where they let the, ChatGPT act as the, high level brain that you can talk to and give it instructions. And then they have like a robotic operating system that then can like physically act in the world.
Have robots attacked humans yet?
No. I mean, like, they're used in war at this point, not like humanoid robots, but, obviously if you look at like Ukraine, there's many like drones that are being used. I think in some areas at the front lines, like 80% of casualties are coming from drones at this point. I'm not sure on the exact numbers.
With AI in the drones or AI operating the drones?
So there have been some cases, I believe, where they've tried using AIs to control the drones, because essentially there's like a thing right now with this drone warfare where the drones that have to be controlled by a human operator need to have a connection to the human operator. So you can jam a signal if they're wireless.
Okay.
They also will do then like fiber optic cables to the drones. But ultimately, if you can just put everything off to an AI that's running on board the drone, there's nothing to jam.
And in some ways, that's allowing an AI to escape.
Yeah, maybe not quite in the same way as the like main models, because it's not going to be like a full,
yeah, of course,
like one of these main models.
Now.
But yeah. Indeed, yeah. I mean, it is really scary thinking about where robotics and warfare might go in the next few years as AI gets more and more integrated. And I think that this is definitely like another area where humanity is going to need to kind of really grapple with what we hand off to machines, what needs to stay with humans. But it's also an area that we aren't specifically focused on because there is this larger risk of creating these super intelligences that do break out, have their own goals, and accomplish whatever they want. So, you were asking, how do you get from ChatGPT to human extinction? And I think I've laid out, how you get from ChatGPT to these super intelligent AI systems that are able to make these decisions and operate far beyond a human level. Further than, once these systems exist, they can do a lot of things. They aren't constrained by the same constraints that humans have. They could go ahead and create biological weapons against us that are like specifically targeted at us. They could create, do massive cyber attacks. If we build a bunch of weaponized drones, they could hack those drones. There are many, many things that it can do. I think the important thing to understand with this is that in the same way that when, like, if you come to me, I'm not that great at chess. I don't play it very often. But like, if you come to me and you're like, I've got this great plan and I can beat you at chess anytime. And I've got this great plan, this new strategy, and I'm going to go and I'm going to fight Magnus Carlsen. And I think my strategy is going to beat Magnus Carlsen. He won't see it coming, or, I'm going to beat him some way or another. I can't necessarily tell you why your plan is going to fail because I'm not Magnus Carlsen. But you're also not Magnus Carlsen. But I can pretty easily predict that Magnus Carlsen will beat you. I don't know how he's going to beat you, but I can predict that he will beat you. And that's kind of the same thing with superintelligence, where, we can theorize about, will he use biological weapons or cyber attacks, or will it create new technology that will take us out? Fundamentally, we don't know, but we can predict that it will win.
Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, all these people, is it fair to say they're being irresponsible right now?
Absolutely.
Oh, we call them out.
Yeah, they are building something that they explicitly acknowledge has a double-digit % chance of ending human life, and they are building it anyway. That's incredibly irresponsible in any situation. I think, like, if you take it out of the context of the AI field, it makes it very clear how insane this is. Imagine a pharmaceutical company came out tomorrow and said, hey, we're building this new,
COVID vaccine.
Yeah, we're building, we're building some new virus or something like that, but we're going to manipulate the virus in a way that it's actually going to cure cancer. It's actually going to solve all diseases. It's going to be so good. But also, by the way, there's like a 20% chance that it kills us all.
Yeah.
Like they would get shut down immediately.
I mean, you get shut down if there was a 1 in 100,000 chance. It just...
And this is the first such technology, like, on this scale of risk, where there is just zero involvement from the public in deciding how it goes. When we built nuclear weapons, when biological weapons and things like that have been built in the past, and other, like, very critically dangerous technologies, the governments have been involved, and the governments have a, duty to the people and to, be responsible and, whatever. You can argue about how much they've done so, but they at least have that duty. Right now, these AI companies, around the world, here in the UK as well, there is less regulation on spending billions of dollars building AI models that have all of these risks that you're publicly warning about and all this kind of stuff that impact society in such a huge way than there's on selling a sandwich on the side of the street.
Oh, God. Okay. So if there's so many people raising the warnings, why is the cut through not happening? So I would expect Elon Musk to be the one, and he has warned about it, but to be raising his hand a little bit more. Yeah, he's gone to war with Donald Trump. He's talking about setting up a new political party. He wants to get us to Mars. If he understands the risk is this high, why isn't... I don't understand why he's not talking about this constantly. I mean, he's the kind of person who could call all of those people, get around and say, we all have to work together on this. This is the one thing we have to get together on. And I understand why he isn't.
Yeah. I think a lot of these people want to build superintelligence, and they maybe think that it's not feasible to do anything to stop it. And so they keep their heads down and they want to just, like, get ignored by the government. A lot of people are also trying to play 4D chess. They're like, I'm going to, get in this position of power, and I'm going to meet that person to meet this other person. And then maybe someday I'll be able to, like, use all my power and stuff that I've accrued to, like, make a big move or something along those lines. What we're doing at Control AI is the obvious correct thing that you should be doing, which is just going out and telling people that this is an issue. Everyday people have a right to know that their lives are at risk. Politicians need to know that all of their constituents' lives and all of everybody around the world are at risk because of what these AI companies are doing. And it is far past time that people really go out and actually start making this a big public issue. And so we're working on kind of building a movement to do this. We currently have tools for both here in the UK and in the US that make it super easy for concerned citizens to contact their politicians and let them know that they're concerned about this issue. So here in the UK, all you have to do is you go to controlai.com/takeaction, you put in your name, you put in your postcode, it fills out a template for you, you click send, it takes you to your email inbox, and you hit send.
That's do you use AI for that?
We use some, like, constrained stuff, but
I'm teasing you. Okay, so this feels like it would need to not only be the leaders of the AI companies, but this needs to be a global effort,
Exactly.
like a UN style project where not only is it Sam Altman and Elon, etc., but it is also Russia, China, France, UK, India, Israel, like all the powerful nations of the world come together and say, the one scenario we don't want is the end of human existence.
Mhm.
Every one of us is capable of creating an AI superintelligence model that could do that. This
Mhm.
is something we all have to work together on.
Indeed. Yeah. So the exact form of how this happens is not important to us. We care that it happens. Whether it be an international treaty, a UN convention, whatever it takes in order to get the international community to come together and agree, this is bad for all of us. None of us want this to happen. Let's work together to not let it happen. And the key first step to getting to this point is building common knowledge. Common knowledge being things that I know, things that you know, and things that I know, you know, I know. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows that everybody knows this. If we get to that point with the risk of extinction from superintelligence, it becomes much, much easier and obviously common sense to just go and do this type of international regulation.
So superintelligence is probably inevitable at some point. And a controlled superintelligent that is in a controlled environment that cannot connect out and be released, blah, 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 could be great for humanity, could cure every disease and solve lots of problems for us. But I think we all agree on that. Would an ideal scenario be allow narrow AI to be developed, but a collective good would be the superintelligence that is built in a controlled environment that can be used by humanity but cannot escape? Is that a potential scenario?
I mean, this would be much better than the situation we're in today.
Okay.
One of the fundamental issues is that we actually don't know how to create a superintelligence that can't escape or stay under our control. Like, this is a fundamental issue where...
Is it just not one that isn't connected to the outside internet?
So this kind of gets into like a whole can of worms where people from AI have been like thinking about this. It's called like the AI in a box problem.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you build an AI in such a contained way that you can have it like tell you how to solve all the world's problems without being at risk of escaping and doing whatever? It turns out that when you really dig into this, it's actually quite hard. And there is no real satisfying solution that means like, yes, we will be able to keep this AI contained for as long as we need to.
Okay, so what is the outcome? What is the ideal outcome? Is it never superintelligence?
It's very important that you don't lose this, okay? This is your inheritance through Bitcoin.
Let Bitcoin rip. Don't rip up your Bitcoin. Set up inheritance with Casa.
This seems unlikely. Ultimately, we don't take a specific stance on this.
Okay.
Because...
Yeah, but what's your personal view? Do you think it's just too risky for humanity, so we should never do it?
Personally, I think that, I don't expect that we go, 2,000 more years of humanity without building AI systems smarter than us. Seems unlikely to me.
Okay.
Just like feasibly. Whether or not that's a good thing, I'm not sure. I think the key thing is that it is far too dangerous to do it as fast as possible, and it's too big of a decision to do as fast as possible. Like, this is really a turning point unlike any other in the history of humanity. In like bringing forth something that is a new type of species, if anything, that is far smarter than, far smarter, more capable than we are. Like, yeah, there are these great things that could come from this. It could cure all diseases. It could solve all the world's problems, and the need for us to do work, and we can all go live lives of luxury or something along those lines. And if we can achieve this safely, like, fantastic, great, let's do it. But we are currently not on track to do so safely, and the experts in the field, the people who are working on AI safety, are saying that we are not like on track to go there safely. I recently spoke with Stephen Adler, who is the...
I listened to it.
Yeah, he's the dangerous capabilities, or he was the OpenAI dangerous capability evaluations lead. So his job was to test AI models for like dangerous capabilities, and he also worked on safety at the company, basically trying to ensure that these models were safe and aligned. And he told me on the podcast that like by 2030, only 30% of like the AI alignment researchers, the one whose job it is to make sure these AIs are aligned with us and like go in our interest, think that we will be ready for superintelligence. But yet timelines for when people in AI expect superintelligence to come around are closer to 2028 or so on average.
2.5 years, 3 years.
Indeed.
If superintelligence, superintelligent AI is so risky because we can't peel back and see what it's doing,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't it mean it's an existential risk on any timeline? Or is there a belief that there is possible breakthroughs on safety that we could get to?
Yeah, we fundamentally don't know because we don't know what the like breakthroughs are necessarily on safety. You know, we could potentially have, you know, techniques that let you see exactly what the AIs are thinking for real all the time. We don't have anything like this right now.
How would that work?
Don't know. Like
It's a hypothesis.
yeah, I mean, it's like these are things that people are kind of trying to pursue, but we don't have any concrete science on this. You know, maybe you could, you know, there are types of computer systems where you can actually like mathematically guarantee the possible things that they can do. It's called like provably safe computer systems or something along those lines. And, you know, maybe we can make something like this for AI where we can like build a system where we can demonstrably show that it's only capable of doing certain things. Like maybe it's like incapable of building a dangerous bioweapon or anything like this. And like we can use this to solve certain problems or another. Fundamentally, like this is...
But if you cannot fully ever see into the AI, even if you could train it to tell you what it's thinking, we also know it might trick. And it might trick us in a way we won't ever know if it's tricking us. 100%.
No, not with anything like the current paradigm. And, you know, maybe there's like a different way that you could build AI systems where they would be, you know, they wouldn't have this black box issue, but we are just far, far off from those.
We're not going to start again.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, maybe if we gain some sense and we decide to go about things in a better way as a world, we could head down a path like that. The unfortunate thing that we found is like this is the way that people used to think about AI. They used to try to build these like expert systems where like they are fully interpretable. You know, it's a decision tree or something along those lines, and you can like literally look through and see its decision process. And then what happened was people invented these neural networks and they just blew everything else out of the water. They're far more capable. And so, yeah, like we really just don't have a, you know, any sort of hope of this going well if we do it currently, as anything like what things are. And I wish I could give you a more comforting answer than this, but that is pretty much the state of things.
No, I mean, look, we should be brutally honest about this. You should be, you should be honest and blunt and tell people the reality of it. I'm mostly surprised that it's coming. I mean this with the utmost respect. I didn't know you before you reached out. And I would expect to have heard more of this from your Sam Altmans, from your Elon Musk. We really need Joe Rogan to make this show with Sam Altman and put the pressure on him.
Yeah, he recently had an episode with Roman Yampolsky, who's a person who works on AI safety stuff, who's quite pessimistic as well. And they actually really dug into things. And Rogan commented that, you know, when he's talked to Altman and other figures like this, that he doesn't trust them, like that he doesn't, you know, he can tell that they're lying to him and that they're, you know, saying like, oh yeah, well, we got everything under control and it's all fine. It's just not the case. And when you basically look at the way that these AI company CEOs have acted, they used to talk much more about like extinction risk and all these dangerous things and whatnot. And then as they got closer and closer to their end game, they got better and better PR teams that trained them not to say those things. And, you know, now, you know, Sam Altman used to say, you know, it could be lights out for all of us. And now he goes before Congress and they ask him, you know, what's the worst case of this? And he's like, worst case is that superintelligence isn't actually as abundant and wonderful as we think it is. It's only going to be mundane and kind of boring. Like,
he's flipping the answer. He's answering a different question there.
Indeed. And, you know, when you talk to people who are like working inside these AI companies, like I have, like most of them say that like behind the scenes, like these CEOs have not stopped worrying about this stuff. If anything, they're more concerned than like far more concerned than they let on publicly. And they've just been trained not to talk about this because their goal is to build superintelligence. And they see themselves as in like this end game where they don't want governments to get involved because they're going to muck it up. And so they like, you know, each one of them is, you know, thinking, you know, hey, like all my competitors, like if they achieve superintelligence, we're all screwed. So I'm going to be the one who goes and does it instead.
God. Have there been any interesting breakthroughs in safety itself? Like, is there good work happening?
People are trying a bunch of things. Fundamentally, none of the issues that were present with the original ChatGPT that came out 3 years ago now at this point have been resolved. There's, no one solved hallucinations. Nobody solved any of these other things. And actually, what we've really been seeing is more of this concerning behavior coming up as these systems get smarter. As they get smarter and more capable, they start doing more deceitful, more deceptive things. Like the systems didn't used to have this like self-preservation like instinct to the degree that the new systems do, and they didn't have the capability of lying and deceiving and like kind of scheming, and to the degree that these the new systems have.
Do you think these systems are developing this kind of deceit and self-preservation based on a replication of human instincts, because the way they've been trained, the novels they would have been fed, the books, the history they would have been fed? Or do you think that is a natural outcome from something that can think?
I think a lot of these things are, I mentioned earlier this idea of like convergent instrumental goals, like this idea that, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of whether you're human or an alien or AI or whatever, it is always useful to acquire more power and resources. It's always useful to ensure that you don't get shut off. It's always useful to ensure that your goals don't get changed. And so these are kind of like mathematically fundamental things that these AI systems like will converge to if we just don't have like some way to stop them from acquiring these goals.
It's wild that things that weren't solved 3 years ago still aren't resolved, yet new models are coming out. Yeah, I feel like I see a new model announcement nearly monthly.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of like the reason why we've seen progress is not because these guys are making like, groundbreaking new, crazy math equations and things like that to make these models like super amazing. Most of what's this improvement in AI has come from is literally just making the systems bigger, giving them more processing power, giving them a bigger brain, like letting them just grow more.
Not wasting time on safety. Look, Boeing could deliver new planes faster if they didn't have to worry about safety.
Indeed.
If Boeing were like, well, 20% of planes might fall out of the sky, but 80% will survive, they could build planes quicker. You could build buildings quicker without safety. But with planes, they build for every scenario. I mean, 2 to 3 redundancy systems on every single system, because we don't want plane crashes. And
what this does is it also makes the industry more profitable. It makes society as a whole better, because that means we can trust airplanes. If 20% of airplanes fell out of the sky, people wouldn't fly.
Nobody would fly.
Indeed. But when these AI company CEOs say that their end goal of their product is something that has a 20% chance of killing everybody on Earth, all we hear is crickets. So it's really a thing though, where like, once again, it's not like a conscious choice that is being made, like an informed decision that is being made by governments to not do anything about this. It is really just a thing that has completely caught everybody off guard. And these AIs are improving at what is generally seen as an exponential rate. They're getting better much, much faster. And so it's a thing where it's like early on in the COVID pandemic, for example, there was a time, in early like March 2020 where it's like, oh, I see a few hundred cases a day. Like, this can't be too bad. They're saying it's doubling every 3 days, whatever. And then, a few months later, and you're seeing millions of cases. Like, this is what exponential growth looks like. And that's what we're seeing in AI. So, it's right now, the AIs are kind of cool gimmicks. They are starting to get kind of useful at some things. But especially once they hand off this AI research to these AI models themselves, like, we're about to see things just skyrocket and things really fundamentally change. Like,
do we as the individual need to just stop using AI as a whole? Are we giving them the wrong incentives to produce a better model?
I think that individuals, AI is a useful tool. And like current AI systems are not particularly dangerous as it is. I think
But is it like the gateway? If you stop the gateway, then...
Obviously, it's like helping to fund AI companies to a degree. Although a lot of their funding is really just coming from like massive investments from people who are kind of bought into this idea that they're building superintelligence and beyond. I think that people should be careful about the way that they use AI. Don't give it too much control over important things in your life. If you're submitting something legal, maybe check it over, make sure that its citations are correct and things like that. I don't think that generally it's a thing where there's too much individuals can do in terms of like choosing to use or not use the products. And they can be useful for a lot of things. I mean, we use AI for things that control AI. There's stuff that is just useful. Like if you're just writing a lot of copy and whatever, and like you want to get like an initial draft and then like review it and make sure that the final product is up to your standards. Like that can help you be more effective and do more things. The real thing that like individuals can do if they want to like actually make a difference is letting their politicians know this is an issue, communicating this to their friends and their family, getting this to be the conversation that people are having. Because really, like, this is the big thing that is happening with humanity right now. And a lot of people just don't know about it at all. And personally, I think that's quite a shame. I think that, if there is something like this happening, people should be aware. People should be talking about it. There should be a democratic process. People should have a say in what happens to their future. And right now, these AI company CEOs are taking the future for themselves with no input from the rest of us.
Have you had any weird pushback, social attacks, people discrediting you because of things like this?
Not particularly.
But does it happen?
At one point, someone made like an impersonation account of me on Twitter, which was kind of funny. But
okay.
Other than that, no.
But are you an annoyance to these people?
Largely, the AI companies just ignore us.
Okay.
We're starting.
Do you try and talk to them?
Oh yeah, I mean we've met with like many people from within these companies and whatnot. Ultimately, like the thing to understand is that there is no like convincing these companies to do the right thing. Like they are set on what they want to do, and the solution does not come from, harassing them until they, stop doing the one thing that they've been trying to do for their entire existence. Meta's team is literally called the Superintelligence team. Sam Altman has explicitly said that OpenAI's goal is to build superintelligence. Like this is the thing that they're doing, and the solution that a lot of people in AI safety have pursued previously is like, we're going to go work at these AI labs. I'm going to go, work on safety at OpenAI. And then like, I'm going to try to like reform them from the inside, or, we're going to try to like talk to them and ask them, please do the right thing. Like stop risking everybody's lives. And like, this is not what you do with any other industry. Going back to that like pharmaceutical company that's like got this thing that could kill everybody. Like, you don't go work inside the pharmaceutical company and try to like reform them from the inside or like beg them to do the right thing. You go to the government and you say, these people are risking all of our lives. Stop them, please. And like, this is really the kind of core thing I think more people need to be doing, is just actually reaching out to the politicians. It's crazy how effective it is. We've talked to staffers in the States because we work both here in the UK and also in the US. And in the States, they said to us, if we get one phone call from a constituent, it probably doesn't get written down or anything. But if we get 2 phone calls, we do actually write it down. We write down what these people are concerned about. And if we get 5 phone calls in a week, the politician will hear about the issue. Like, it doesn't mean that they'll necessarily agree with you, but they will hear their constituents are concerned.
Have there been any Senate testimony hearings regarding this? Yeah,
there have been a few. There was actually one recently in the States, in the Senate, kind of regarding the AI race and like talking about the extinction risk was mentioned, as well as this kind of U.S.-China dynamic. They actually did some pretty decent work, I think, in kind of separating the idea of like racing with China from building superintelligence as like separate things, rather than just being like one linked thing. Like we must build superintelligence to beat China. So we'll see. I think that there are certainly a number of Congress people that are really starting to wake up to this as like a serious, real thing that's actually happening.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, here in the UK, we're getting a lot more. We've had, as I said before, like our campaign that we're running currently, we have 46 parliamentarians on it right now that we've briefed. We've explained this issue to them, and they've signed on to our campaign. We've had, people have asked questions, like in the parliament, and like there are people who are starting to take this seriously. And yeah,
it feels like it needs to be a Senate testimony hearing where you are grilled, and Sam Altman is grilled, and Elon Musk is grilled, and Mark Zuckerberg is grilled. All these people are grilled about these risks, and it becomes an issue for public conversation.
Yeah.
We have people creating something where they say there's a 20% chance that it will end humanity, and that could be within the next 5 years. It feels like a big a topic of conversation. We should be having this.
Yeah, indeed. So they have brought Altman before Congress a few times, but that's where he's weaseled out about actually talking about
Bullshit,
the real issue.
is it?
Indeed. And like that's where like the statement I brought up earlier is really important that we like kind of hold their feet to the fire on. They signed the statement that said mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside pandemics and nuclear war. And like we should hold them to that and ask them, what did you mean by extinction? And when Sam Altman pivots and talks about job loss, you say, no, you said extinction.
Yeah,
and like,
what is your priority on that? That's where you say it's a global priority.
Indeed, yeah. And I mean, we see them currently, like they've been lobbying very hard against regulation. There was recently a provision in the Big Beautiful Bill in the United States that would have banned the states from regulating AI for 10 years. And
we could be dead then.
Indeed, 10 years in AI time is a lifetime. And so thankfully this provision was actually removed thanks to a lot of work from a lot of concerned people who were calling in to their Congress people to say like, hey, this is insane. We shouldn't have this. And a lot of Congress people like finally actually taking stances to push back against it, despite everything else going on with that bill. They did stand up and they actually got it removed. It was voted down 99-1.
Wow. Who's the one?
I don't remember what his name was. He's one of the Republicans. I don't remember what exactly he was. Like why? I think it was, from my understanding, it was maybe even somewhat of a mistake. Like he just like didn't know exactly. Like they were going through like the night, like yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, on a bunch of things, and so not completely sure about the details there. But yeah,
that's a compelling vote. Is there anything I've not asked you about that you wish I had, or anything we've not covered?
I think we've done a pretty like exhaustive thing. I mean, I think like really like to you, the viewer, like this is something that is a serious concern, as I've mentioned many times before. Like real experts are actually very worried about this. And it's not going to change and it's not going to get better if people don't talk about it. So like the number one thing you can do is use your voice, use your platform, tell people about this risk, tell them to reach out to their lawmakers. Like seriously, like we have these tools here in the UK and in the US that make it super, super easy to reach out. Like it takes literally 20 seconds. You can go on our website, put in your name, put in your postcode, send the email. That's it.
Do you feel like you are, when you frame this for yourself, I'm kind of repeating what I said earlier, but do you feel like your job now is to save humanity?
To a degree, yeah.
That's wild, man.
It was not where I expected to end up with my life. I always wanted to do something, with my skills to kind of, better the world. I originally went into doing just technical work in AI safety. My background is in physics. I studied physics and then went and did technical AI safety research because, I wanted to work kind of behind the scenes and whatnot. But it just became clear that this is a thing where we need more people going out and just actually talking about it and really doing that kind of communication work. And so I kind of pivoted to come work in this.
It's wild, man. Wild. Thank you so much for coming in. People want to find out more information. Where should they go? Yeah,
go check out controlai.com. We have all of our resources there. If you want to read more about this, there is a large essay that we put together called The Compendium, which is linked on our website. This really just breaks down, why we expect AI to continue to scale, why we expect extinction to eventually rise from it, why superintelligence is coming, all of this stuff. Long form reading, very good. We also have a narrow path, which is also linked on our website. This is our list of global policy proposals that, if governments woke up tomorrow, they all realized that this was a risk and they were like, we actually want to solve this. Like what, talking to their advisors, what can we actually do? What is the policy that we put in place that fixes this problem? A narrow path is aimed to be that. Generally, follow our work online. We're Control AI and across different platforms. We post on Twitter, we post YouTube. I've got a Control AI podcast where I talk to some people in the AI field. And you can follow me personally on Twitter if you want. I'm just Max Winga.
We'll stick that all in the show notes. I did have a final question for you. In the world where we go past the point of no return, say in 4 or 5 years, you haven't been successful, and there's an announcement that that they've solved it. They've created super AI. Sam Altman announces it to the world. In that world where you're fearing extinction, do you then move to a policy of trying to get it to be destroyed? Or is there a world where you accept it and you build your exit plan of where you're going to go and hide for survival? Have you thought that far?
To a degree. I'm mostly focused on the near term. I think that a point of no return is a point of no return. Things are fruitless at that point. I don't think that we're going to...
You're not going to go to New Zealand and build a bunker?
Well, I don't know that I would necessarily reveal where I'm going to go, but there's a point where you retire to the beaches and you enjoy the time we have left.
Fuck, man.
I feel like I should go now.
Yeah,
Just like you got 5 years. What are you doing?
Well, we can lend a hand in the short term. But you should. I mean, I've had a long life. I've done all right. You might not. I mean, you'll be 26. We should sell some Bitcoin. Go to the beach.
And fill out your bucket list.
It's the weird thing is it feels so real and so far fetched at the same time.
Even for me, it's this is the nature of exponentials. It's how AI is not scary until it's better than us. It's still not better than us, so it's easy to laugh at it. You look at the things that the mistakes that it makes and all these different things, and you say, it's nothing to worry about. But it's the trajectory that is important. You look at where it was non-existent just a few years ago, and to where it is now, and you see where things are going, and it's quite scary, yeah. But yeah, you do walk around the world. You walk around the streets of London here. Nothing really stands out too much. Although, just a few weeks ago, I think Old Street Station was filled out with a bunch of posters about stop hiring humans.
Stop hiring humans. That was on. Oh,
yeah.
Let me get that. Let me send. I literally saw that last night, and I sent to my ex-wife because I was like, we need to think about the future of our children. Where is it? It's in my book. I bookmarked it. Look, there's my last bookmark. What is it? Con, you should put this up on the screen so we can show people to it. Because firstly, also feels like weird and evil and dystopian. Stop hiring humans.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see. Con, you got your WhatsApp? All right, let me send you that. There we go. Have you seen this cut? This is so crazy. It's a bit like those. It reminded me a bit like those assisted dying ads that were also weird and dystopian.
Yeah.
You got it? Let me put my headphones on. Oh no, it's only got music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird music. But yeah, I saw this last night and I was like, "What do you mean stop hiring humans?" And then I was like, "Oh, is that the AI?" Here we go. Artisans. Con, can you just go pause it so I can read them out to the people on the stop hiring humans? So people listening. This is the underground station. It's like the gates you go through after you put your ticket. It literally says stop hiring humans. Artisans won't work from home in Ibiza next week. The era of AI employers here. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good advertising campaign. We're talking about it right now, but
no, fuck this company.
I mean, indeed, but
at the point they kill
hold
us.
on, Connor, you're away next week.
At the point they kill us all, have they won? What do they do at that point in that scenario?
I mean, whatever they want. I mean, it's like
they should have left some of us to just witness it.
Maybe it depends on how spiteful they are.
Because it's a little bit like if there's no humans to see it, did it happen? Kind of thing.
Well, they probably don't care too much about that. They care about whatever weird goals they've come up with. It might be some strange misinterpretation of whatever goals we tried to get them. It might be that they just come up with their own goals. They want to go explore the universe or do whatever it is that a super intelligent AI wants to do.
Wouldn't it be wild if they got rid of humans but restored the ecology on the planet and looked after all the animals better than us?
That would be funny. I don't expect that to happen, but
All right, carry that on. Well, hold on, Connor. We should. Artisans won't make small talk. Scary. I mean, you are on holiday next week, Connor. If I get artisan,
I'm thinking about going on holiday for the rest of my 5 years of life. So.
Dude, you're on holiday next week. Kurt, should we get artisan and see if we can do a better job than Connor?
I don't know that it can yet operate camera equipment, so you might have some job left.
Connor worries about iRobot. That was his favorite film as a kid.
There's a video you can pull up if you want. If you go and look up Figure 01 on YouTube. This is the one I usually show to people. Is like this is where robotics are kind of. Actually, this was from a while ago, but 01 should be that first one right there.
What's this? What if
you should play this one with sound. This one talks.
For you. Introducing.
Why do they always make him so creepy looking?
Yeah, and the scary music too.
Hey, Figure 1, what do you see right now?
I see a red apple on a plate in the center of the table.
a drying rack with cups and a plate, and you standing nearby with your hand on the table.
Great. Can I have something to eat?
Sure thing.
Great. Can you explain why you did what you just did while you pick up this trash?
On it. So I gave you the apple because it's the only edible item I could provide you with from the table.
Hold on, did it just go,
Yeah. They ask it to talk more human.
Great. So, based on the scene right now, where do you think the dishes in front of you go next?
The dishes on the table, like that plate and cup, are likely to go into the drying rack next.
Great. Can you put them there?
I had an apple on it, it needs a wash.
Of course.
All right. So, how do you think you did?
I think I did pretty well. The apple found its
Good
new
stutter.
owner.
Yeah,
The
he's
trash
kinda
is gone,
nervous.
and the tableware is right where it belongs.
I agree. Thanks, Figure One.
You're welcome. If there's anything else you need help with, just let me know.
His stutter's cute. His delay is annoying, though.
Yeah, well, they're working on improving that.
When do we get robots at home? When do we get sex robots? Not for me. We're gonna get sex robots, aren't we? We're gonna get those sex robots.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's gonna make the lives of some nerds a lot better. Who's making that?
A company called Figure. They've actually got more advanced ones that like work together now. That look a little bit less prototypey. They're already working in some like BMW factories and stuff.
What?
Yeah.
Elon Musk talked about Optimus being about 30 grand.
Yeah. I will believe the prices on robots when I see them.
Yeah,
like,
fair.
When people actually release them. But yeah, I mean, like they're working to just build a bunch of these. And the thing with these robots is like we often think of robots like C-3PO, like they're like one individual robot. They're not really though. It's one AI model that is in all of these different robots at once. So once you have, you've mass produced 100,000 of these or 1 million of these, and they're in homes and businesses around the world. Every day they're going about doing a bunch of different tasks. They're talking to people. People are correcting them on their tasks, showing them how to do things better. And then every day, like they, go to sleep, upload to the cloud, get the new update the next day from all the different experiences of all of these robots, and they wake up the next day with 1 million days more of experience.
They might wake up one day like, fuck you, Pete. Kill me. I've seen enough sci-fi movies where the robots kill us.
Yeah, it's one of the scenarios for sure. And we're certainly building directly towards it by just making exactly the robots and technology from the movies.
I would rather, if I had to pick a scenario, I think I'd rather Terminator than just some kind of mass extinction through CRISPR or biological attack. I kind of want to go to war with them at least.
Seems a bit more fun, yeah.
Yeah, get out there and shoot the fuckers.
We need Will Smith.
We need Will Smith. We need Arnie. Good Arnie. Max, thank you so much. That was wild.
Thank you for having me.
I can't process it. I'm going to have to. Me and Connor are going to sit in the car on the way home and think this through quite a bit. If we can help in any way, let us know. If there are other people you think we should get on, we would happily do it. We want to cover more of AI. I wouldn't mind getting somebody on who is working at one of the big companies at some point and then put it to them. But anyone you can help with, we're very interested. If we can help you in return, if there's any guest that's been on our show that's maybe an MP that you want to talk to, let us know and we'll help connect you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any of the kind of MPs we'd be happy to talk to. Anyone who's interested in learning more about this, we do have our campaign if they're interested in signing on. We're also happy to just brief them on the issue. This is really a thing where our main goal is to just educate as many people on this topic as possible. In terms of like other guests, I could potentially put you in touch with Steven Adler. He's the one who we interviewed. He used to work, on the safety.
Does he ever come here?
I don't know that he's been in London for a while, so you might not get him for an in-person interview, but I could see if there's anyone that I meet that like seems like they'd be interesting. I would certainly send them your way.
Well, thank you. You need to go and save humanity, man.
Indeed, working on it. Back to work.
And
after
if you
this.
do, if we're still alive in 5 years, I will buy you a beer. No, good luck. Yeah, it's going to take some processing, but appreciate you coming in. If you need to come back at any point, you feel like, look, Pete, there's a new thing I need to talk about. We need to just be open invite. You've got an open invite to the show whenever you want.
Fantastic.
Fascinating. Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.